So here we'll talk about trigeminal nerve. It gives three branches. One is ophthalmic, second is maxillary, and the third is mandibular. The first two are sensory, that means it has completely sensory function, and the next one, which is mandibular, has mixed function. One is sensory function, another is motor function. The fifth cranial nerve is a mixed nerve because it has a mixed functions. It has sensory functions and the motor functions because of this mandibular division. To the first division, which is ophthalmic division, it supplies eyes, nose, and lacrimal gland. Maxillary, just by the name, you can imagine it supplies to the maxillary part, the jaw, where teeth are present, right? Supplies to teeth. Coming to mandibular, again mandibular we have teeth and tongue, right? So it supplies to teeth, tongue, and ear. The sensory function supplies to ear, teeth, and tongue. And the motor function applies to muscles of mastication, which helps us chew the food. From the points, the two roots, that is sensory root and the motor root, arises, and the sensory, it passes through the trigeminal ganglion and divides into ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. This motor function is only limited to the mandibular parts. This motor root directly goes and joins the mandibular division. Ophthalmic and the maxillary division is through the lateral side of the cavernous sinus. This mandibular passes through foramen ovale, continues as a main trunk, and here it gives two branches as a main trunk, and then after giving two branches it divides into anterior and the posterior. Ophthalmic divides into three parts, then it passes to superior orbital canal, and this maxillary divides into one part and then it passes to inferior orbital canal, and also in the inferior orbital canal it gives other branches. But whereas the ophthalmic, it does not give any branches from the superior orbital canal. It gives before it and then passes through it. So we'll talk detail about three of these divisions. Coming to ophthalmic, it is dividing into three branches. One is frontal, nasociliary, lacrimal. So first lacrimal, as the name suggests, it is going and supplying to the lacrimal gland. Frontal area, it supplies to eye, supratrochlear, and the supraorbital. Coming to nasociliary, this word nasociliary refers to nose, right? So posterior ethmoidal and the posterior ethmoidal branches, and in the name nasociliary, it gives a long ciliary branch, and also infratrochlear. The frontal is giving supratrochlear, the nasociliary is giving infratrochlear. Big division, it is dividing into frontal, nasociliary, and the lacrimal before passing through the supraorbital canal. Division, it passes through foramen rotundum. The mandibular passes to foramen ovale, right? So maxillary, rotundum, mandibular, ovale. So after passing to rotundum, it gives a ganglion. It passes through a ganglion, which is pterygopalatine ganglion, and then before going into inferior orbital canal, it gives one branch, and then in the inferior orbital canal, it is named as inferior orbital nerve. Orbital nerve, that means the maxillary nerve in the inferior orbital canal, is giving anterior and the middle superior alveolar nerve. Alveolar refers to teeth. Nerve, right? This maxillary nerve is giving posterior superior alveolar nerve. The other branches are zygomatic, meningeal, and the ganglionic branches. So the main function of this maxillary division is to supply teeth. In the inferior orbital nerve, it is supplying to anterior and the middle superior alveolar nerve, and from the direct branch of maxillary nerve, it is supplying to posterior superior alveolar nerve. It is passing to the foramen ovale, and after passing to the foramen ovale, it passes like a main trunk. It has both sensory and the motor division. It is giving two branches. One is a meningeal branch, nerve to medial pterygoid. Then it divides into posterior division and the anterior division. The posterior division, the mandibular, is also supplying to teeth. So the posterior division, one branch is inferior alveolar nerve. That means it is supplying the lower part of the teeth. And second, the tongue, right? So lingual nerve supplies to the tongue. And the ear is auriculotemporal nerve. Anterior part, it is supplying muscles of mastication. One is masseter nerve, one is deep temporal nerve, masseteric nerve, lateral pterygoid nerve. So the one branch from the main trunk is supplying medial pterygoid nerve, which is also a part of muscle of mastication. The anterior is supplying to three muscles of mastication. One is deep temporal nerve, masseteric nerve, and the lateral pterygoid nerve. And this buccal nerve is a sensory nerve, that means it supplies the sensations over the buccal region. So this is about mandibular nerve, maxillary nerve, and the ophthalmic nerve.